The evening had started out like any other, quiet, uneventful, and lonely. I was walking home from a late shift at the mechanic's yard, the air crisp and heavy with the smell of ozone after a recent storm. The neon glow of the city lights reflected off the wet pavement, painting streaks of color under my boots. That's when I heard it. A faint cry, soft and desperate, coming from the alleyway between two derelict buildings. At first, I thought it was just the wind whistling through the cracked windows, but then it came again, meek, pitiful, undeniable. Meow. I hesitated, tightening my jacket around me. Cats were common enough, strays running the gutters, scrounging scraps. Still, something in that cry tugged at me. Against better judgment, I stepped into the shadows. There it was, a tiny, shivering ball of fur, soaked through and pressed against a broken dumpster. Its eyes were wide, glowing faintly in the dim light. It looked too thin, too fragile, like it had been left behind. "Hey, little guy," I murmured, kneeling down. The cat didn't run, just stared at me with a kind of weary hope. Carefully, I scooped it into my arms, feeling the tremor of its body against my chest. Its purr came weak but persistent. I smiled despite myself. "Guess you're coming home with me." I didn't know then that this small act, cradling a lost creature, giving it warmth, was the beginning of something far bigger than me. The stranger. 2 nights later the knock came. Dark. Precise. Too deliberate to be random. I opened the door to find a woman standing there. At least she looked like a woman. Tall, graceful, wrapped in a cloak that shimmered faintly under the street lamp. Her skin pale as moonlight with a strange silvery undertone. Her eyes. They weren't human. They were too large, too luminous, filled with depth like a starfield. "You are Daniel Reeves," she said, her voice smooth, accented in a way no country on earth owned. Froze. "Yeah. Do I know you?" Her gaze flickered to the small cat now curled on the sofa inside. Then back to me. "You passed the first test." "The what now?" Her lips curved into something between a smile and a smirk. "The creature you rescued, it was no ordinary stray. It was placed before you to see how you would act when no one was watching. Compassion without audience reveals true nature." I blinked, gripping the doorframe. "Are you seriously telling me picking up a half-dead cat was some kind of exam?" "Yes," she said simply. "And you passed." I laughed, though unease gnawed at me. "Lady, I don't know what game you're playing, but I think you've got the wrong guy." Her eyes hardened, and for a heartbeat, the air around her seemed to hum with unseen power. "No, Daniel. I have exactly the right one." The revelation. She stepped inside without waiting for permission, the faint scent of metal and wildflowers clinging to her cloak. The cat raised its head, meowed once, and then, unbelievably, leapt onto her shoulder as though greeting an old friend. My jaw slackened. "What the?" She stroked its head. "This form is merely a vessel, a companion chosen to draw your heart forth. And it worked." "You're saying, the cat's alien?" "Yes," she said, as if explaining something obvious to a child. "A living probe. It saw your choices, measured your instincts." I felt the world tilt. "Why? Why test me?" "Because," she said, eyes locking onto mine, "my people seek an ally. Humanity is loud, reckless, destructive, but there are whispers that beneath the chaos lies potential. We search for those who prove it true. You showed kindness when it was simplest to walk away." I swallowed hard. "You're telling me helping a cat just qualifies me for alien diplomacy?" Her expression softened. "It qualifies you for something more. A chance to stand where no human has yet stood. Will you accept?" Into the unknown. I should have slammed the door, called her crazy, gone back to my ordinary life. But instead I heard myself say, "Where do we start?" Her hand extended, elegant and steady. With trust. The moment my fingers touched hers, the room blurred. Light swallowed everything like falling through a tunnel made of stars. When it cleared, I was no longer in my apartment. We stood on a vast deck of metal and glass, overlooking a world that curved beneath us, Earth shining blue and fragile in the void. My knees went weak. Holy hell! She looked at me serene. Welcome aboard the Cerithian vessel Kael'thar. Around us moved beings unlike any dream. Tall figures of shifting colors, crystalline bodies refracting light, insectoid workers skittering across the floor. And all of them turned to stare at me, the human who had somehow passed their mysterious trial. The trial of worth. The woman, who finally introduced herself as Lysera, emissary of the Cerithians, explained that I had been chosen to represent humanity in what they called the Council of Life, a gathering of civilizations, deciding which species were worthy of alliance, and which were too dangerous to trust. But before humanity could be considered, I had to face 3 trials. The first, she said, you have already passed, compassion in solitude. The second will test your courage. The third, your wisdom. I wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it. Me, a mechanic from Earth, standing in front of interstellar judges like some chosen hero. But when Lysera looked at me with those starlit eyes, I couldn't. The second trial came in the form of a simulation. They placed me in a chamber that shifted into a burning city, screams echoing in the distance. Structures collapsed, fire roared, and alien civilians, fragile beings with translucent skin, ran in terror. A voice boomed. You can save only one path. Choose. Rescue the trapped or confront the destroyer. My instincts screamed to fight, but then I saw a small figure pinned beneath rubble, crying for help. Without thinking, I ran to free them, lifting stone until my arms burned, dragging them to safety. By the time I turned back, the destroyer had vanished. The scene dissolved, and the council watched me in silence. Lysera smiled faintly. You chose life over victory. The test is passed. The third trial was subtler. They asked me to negotiate between 2 alien factions on the brink of war over territory. I had no knowledge of their cultures, no training in diplomacy, but I listened, really listened. And when both sides had spoken, I asked them one question. What do your children need most to survive? Shifted everything. Suddenly, it wasn't about pride or land, but about shared futures. They found compromise not through power, but through hope. The answer. When it was done, Lysera stood before the council. You see, this human is proof of what lies within their kind. Imperfect, yes, but capable of mercy, courage, and wisdom. One of the crystalline beings tilted its head. But is this the exception, or the rule? The chamber grew tense. All eyes turned to me. And for the first time since this madness began, I felt the weight of Earth itself on my shoulders. So I spoke. I'm not perfect. None of us are. We fight, we destroy, we make mistakes big enough to scar planets. But we also love. We protect. We try again when we fail. If you're looking for flawless beings, you won't find them. Not in humans, maybe not anywhere. But if you're looking for people who care enough to do better tomorrow than we did yesterday, then yes, that's who we are. Silence followed. Then, one by one, the council members lowered their heads in what I could only guess was agreement.